And a shout out to Billy's crew, the SDJA. They're in the house, right?
Yes, sir.
All right, so what I'm not going to do is DJ in front of a bunch of DJs. Because I'm pretty sure that you guys know how to match beats and you know about your own personal track selections that you like and things like that. So I've always said for a long time that I'm not a trade show DJ and I'm not going to be able to do anything up here that's going to be like Qbert mind-blowing, showing off this gear like a 30-second demo that you see on Pioneer's website. But what I can do is tell you about the way that a working DJ would appreciate a piece of gear like this. So it's more applicable to what we do to for the professionals out there that are doing this for a living. First of all, if you're coming from the generation of turntables and heavy equipment and you've progressed into the controller lifestyle, I'm sure you already appreciate anything like this. It doesn't weigh a whole lot and it's got everything that you need for your presentation, your performance, all in one piece of gear. And if you're a mobile DJ and you've stumbled across that in the last 10, 15 years, I'm sure you've discovered the blessing that is the controller life. Now, what makes this controller special is the fact that they are bringing a lot of the features that were exclusive to a laptop having to be connected to your controller already built into the machine. And so what that means is, and also I should point out that I'm sure you guys know at Pioneer they usually have the big one, the medium one, and the smaller one for the different price points, right? We got the smaller / medium one over here. So they have their different price points for their different types of controllers. One thing that's unique I've noticed about the RX series is there is no big one, little one, medium one. This is the one. They have the RX series, and what it is designed specifically to do is to be able to give you the flexibility of the controller style of DJing without actually having to have your laptop connected. So I'm going to need a couple seconds to get everything up here, but I'm going to show you some of the things that I find that are really effective for somebody who is a working DJ and I'm going to be using something like this. So the first thing that I really enjoy, and it was also in the RX1, but it's improved in the RX2, and that is the track pads. The performance pads now are more of a softer rubber feel as opposed to the first series of this had the hard clicky buttons. So if you're if you already have a controller and you're used to using the performance pad like on an SX or the SB or the SR, this will feel very much just like that. And again, you're doing that without a laptop even connected. You have all this controller functionality built into the unit, and that's a really big deal for mobility. It makes your setup time nothing, you know. And so you just plug it into your speakers, and you're up and running. I was telling Katz about this earlier, a way that this works for the working mobile DJ. A lot of us have a situation where we're in two locations in the same time. We got ceremony on this side of the yard, and we got reception on this side of the yard, and we've got to bring our music for the ceremony over here, and people are already done with the ceremony, and you're hurrying up, and you're unplugging, and you're running your laptop over to the other thing, and you're plugging it in. What you can do with this is you can go ahead and put on your dinner music into the USB stick, take your laptop with you to the ceremony, do the ceremony with your laptop while the cocktail music is already running on this without any laptop connected to it, and that works really well. And we know the cocktail and the dinner hour is a big portion of a mobile gig. So having all of that music already in the USB drive ready to go is a godsend, and is actually going to be used for the majority of your mobile gig, especially with things like weddings where the dancing section is the last hour, and it's usually the least important thing compared to all the formalities that you have to go through in the beginning. So that's super handy for when you need to be in two locations at one time. You have two sound systems going, and you want to be able to just hit play on this thing and let it run, and you can go do what you got to do for the ceremony. So I really like that. Everything that I would expect to be in the interface of things is exactly where I would think it would be. If I'm going to be loading a track, it's right here. I mean, you got 1, 2, you're moving quick. Everything is all internal right here. So that is, like I said, if you're coming from a controller environment, you're already going to know how to use this. And like I said, I'm not gonna really like play like DJ, sit here and beat mix for you, right? I'm just gonna. So we got this certain kinds of effects that we're used to seeing on either a CDJ Nexus or a Nexus CDJ Nexus 2 system or a Record Box or Serato system. Things like looping. Looping is ready to go. You can release the loop, and you got cue points. It's exactly like a controller. You tap the control pad. It reads it exactly as if you were on a controller, but I don't even have my laptop plugged into this thing yet. You can't do that with anything else. You can't do. There's no other piece of gear that does that other than a CDJ by itself and a mixer by itself, but nothing that is an all-in-one unit. Pioneer exclusively has that. And it's something that people have been asking for a long time. And it crosses over from both the mobile gigs and to the club guys too. I see a lot of the club guys are showing up with their own gear these days. A lot of the newer club gigs, if you guys are the club DJs out there, you'll notice that a lot of times there's not even a setup for the DJ anymore. It's a blank counter, and you got to bring in your own thing and plug it in. And before, I was bringing in a controller with a laptop, and I'm getting in the other guy's way, trying to plug in my equipment. And so something like this completely, within itself, is great for that type of thing as well. What I wanted to do, and as soon as I can log into my computer, I can show you some of the things that I use in Record Box performance mode that you probably do in Serato. And maybe you're frustrated with Serato DJ because we know, I probably shouldn't be saying certain names on the mic. I don't know if I'm supposed to do that. You're frustrated with other software because it's not performing the way that you expect it to, but you don't want to leave the software because you're comfortable with the workflow. You know how to do things when you need to do it. And you're afraid if you switch to Record Box that you'll be stuck in a situation where I know what I need to do, but how the heck do I do it in this program? And then you're scrambling to figure it out. So, and if you give me a couple minutes to log into my computer and connect this real quick, and I'll be a little bit of dead air, I'm going to try to show you some things that are common in professional DJ performance that you can set up in Record Box so that it's just like Serato or any other program that you use. And that way, if you're moving into Record Box DJ, it's a lot easier for you to do. Now, I'm a proponent of Record Box DJ. I've been a proponent for a little bit now, especially since version 5.0 has come out. I've been a really big proponent of Record Box DJ. And one thing that we got some Apple employee. My old buddies are here. I was an Apple employee for a long time, and one thing that makes me an Apple fanboy is that the same company that is releasing the hardware is also designing the software to work with the hardware. And that is exactly the model that Pioneer is taking. And honestly, that is a smart approach. If you're gonna spend this kind of money on this expensive piece of hardware, you're going to know that the people who made the software for it are going to be the same company that made the hardware for it. You want them to be able to work in conjunction as if they were made for each other, because they literally were. Other companies, they're not like that. They're a licensing company, and they just try to get their software into any piece of gear that they can across the board. And Pioneer is focusing specifically on developing the software for their hardware. So that's my big motivation for moving in that direction, because it's obvious Pioneer is a huge fish. They're like probably the biggest company in our lifestyle of things. They are the big brand. They're bigger than everybody else. In case you guys didn't know that, they're tenfold bigger than everybody else. So it's good to know that the same developers are working together with the hardware and software. Let me log in my computer real quick, a little bit dead air. One thing that I really enjoy a lot is that it doesn't need to have anything connected to it for it to fully work. And a lot of other software out there, if you don't have your controller connected to it, or you don't have your interface connected to it, it's going to run in what's called offline mode, and you have very limited options as to what you can do when you're preparing your music. And you got to pull out your controller and plug it in, and that way you have full use of everything in your software. What's great about Rekordbox is that everything works, even if you don't have anything plugged into it. You can do all of your work ahead of time, sitting on your couch with your laptop, making everything exactly the way that you want it, without even needing to have anything plugged into it. So that's a really, really good feature in my opinion.
So it's important to be caught up with the latest drivers and the software updates.
When it comes to the drivers, when working with the Mac, it uses Core Audio so that it's just going to work. If you're using different Windows drivers, the drivers are actually installed with the application. So when you plug the hardware, the application is going to recognize that there's no driver for this, and it'll ask you if you want to install it, and it'll already be on your hard drive. That way you don't have to be connected to the internet. And
There's a new update, the 1.9.10. I bought a computer and Serato wasn't caught up with the new Macs yet.
right.
I think the new one is caught up now. Is that?
I don't know as far as compatibility with Serato and the newer version, but I do know that it's not uncommon in professional applications in general for them to not be ready for the latest operating system. So it is a good idea to keep the if it ain't broke, don't try to fix it approach when it comes to your operating system. If your operating system is working, don't go to the newest operating system thinking that all of your livelihood and all of your professional hardware is going to immediately work with it, because there is a chance that it won't, and that'll really hurt your business.
Just really quick, coming from support for Pioneer, I personally will not pick up a new iOS for probably 6 to 8 months. I will not use the newest version. 1.9.1 is out. I'm running 1.98. I won't update to that till probably after Christmas. I give all new, including Rekordbox, all software. Give it a few months. If there's bugs, they're going to show up. And please, I work on the forums for Pioneer. I can't tell you how many times I've gotten this one. Friday afternoon, dude, I have a gig tonight. I just downloaded the newest version of, High Sierra, and I'm having a problem with. Well, your problem is you're an idiot. That's your first problem. Okay, you're a moron. I'm sorry. Why would you download something like that? I'm going to court tomorrow. Yeah, it's the last day of arguments for my murder trial. I just read this new book on the law. I think I'll use that. No, dude. Don't download anything. Yeah, exactly. But that's the thing. Even Rekordbox, 5.0 was a little different because it was a big departure for us. Coming from 3 and 4 is kind of monumental pieces. But even we say that. Give it a couple weeks, a month. Let it run its course. Not to interrupt, but I was like, it happens all the time when people will come to us and say, yeah, I just downloaded this. And the other thing is that I love about Serato, coming from a Rekordbox standpoint, and I've tried my best, and I think we are going to implement this with Rekordbox as well. In fact, we already have. We keep an archive version back. Keep the last working version. If you're on 1.9.1 million and 1.63 was flawless, keep it. Keep it on your applications. In Windows, keep the file, do whatever. But when it says, you have an older version, replace with this, no. Keep both. Because that way you're not in trouble. With Serato, if you go to Serato.com, you can actually download old versions of DJ. Just for future reference. Always have a working version that is solid. Then you go into the new ones. Because sometimes a fix may be a bug for what you do.
A lot of us, I think some of us have laptops with a backup. Maybe try it on one or whatever, yeah. My problem was, I'm sorry, but I bought a new Mac and I went to put it in Serato. Serato goes, what? It's, right, it can't read the new, so.
My Air that I just put away, I think I'm running 10.10.9. So I'm on, what is that, Yosemite? I haven't even started on El Cap, and they're on High Sierra. I haven't even gotten El Cap yet. I can almost guarantee I'll skip over it. That's my gig laptop. That doesn't do anything else. I did a show with 2 engineers from Serato 3 years ago. They both used MacBook Airs with 4 gigs, 128 hard drives. They said, A, they were flawless. B, they're lightweight, C, they're cheap, D, batteries last forever. 2 days after NAMM, I bought one. When the guys that write the program use it, you don't need 32 gigs of RAM and 16 terabytes, and I don't know what files people are saving, but, you know, and the other thing is I've always used external drives. So I'm coming from that school. I'm having issues with one of my drives tonight. I have 2 more at home, you
So you
know?
don't load your music into your computer?
I don't, and I don't for the reason that,
Serato analyzes it and all that.
right, here's the benefit. Because it's on my external, I can come to your computer at the gig, plug it in, and play. But if I have to do that, oh, dude, all my music's on my computer. The other thing is this. Early on, the geek that works with me, this guy named Pulse, who does a lot of stuff for Pioneer on their shows and forums, super uber geek about computers, does computers for a living. He's like, if you have the option of a bigger hard drive or better RAM or better processing, always do that. External hard drives are cheap. I have a 1 terabyte G drive. It was $68.
Yeah, well, yeah.
That way I get a faster computer, but I have an external drive. I mean, I'm sure it's my, you know, me being old fashioned and all that. I'd love to just plug in and be like, I'm going. But for me, having that external drive, we did the gig with Invisible Scratch Pickles last year, D Styles.
He's great.
He's, dude, have you seen a Serato video where he scratches a saxophone? He's got blue vinyl. Yeah. You gotta go to Serato's YouTube page and look for D Styles artist video. He does a scratch routine where he's not wick scratching, he's pulling back a saxophone, so as he releases, you hear the saxophone as the scratch. It's gorgeous. But he actually has an external now that he velcros to the front to his screen on the outside, just as his backup. I think it's kind of ugly, but what are you gonna tell the guy? It's D Styles. We really can't. Yo, dog, it's like.
Alright, I can't, it's alright, it's not coming up in the record box. Let's see if it comes up again. First of all, I have very little experience with this controller, so forgive my ignorance on the connection issues. I'm sure a little bit of troubleshooting will figure it out. But what I wanted to show you is answer some questions about people that are moving from Serato into Rekordbox and things that you normally do in Rekordbox or in Serato and how you do them in Rekordbox. Does that make sense? Okay. So first thing we all probably are doing is cue points. Now, here's Serato over here. Let me just walk it over here. You can see. So you can see that they look pretty similar, right? The interface that you're looking at looks very much the same. You've got your crates, these are called playlists, same thing. This is your library, this is your library. I personally use this little prepare window, and I have a little prepare window here. So you can see that the layout, a lot of the things that you're going to be looking for are going to be in the same place, okay? Now, what I personally like about Rekordbox is that there is more flexibility with these guys right here, the performance pads, than in Rekordbox than in Serato. Now, the first thing that we all are probably using is cue points. Setting a cue point is as easy as just tapping this in. You got your cue point there. Notice this is running in full mode. I'm not connected to anything. If I disconnected this guy, he's going to go offline. And see how it just went offline. So this one would need to be connected to the hardware in order for it to work. All right, so you get it. So first thing, cue points. We set a cue point. We're good to go. Can everyone see this? So popular song right now.
It's Gucci Gang, don't play it.
It's Gucci Gang, the full dirty version. Are we all grown ups here? Okay.
Yeah.
Now, you got your cue point set, right? Now, if you're setting loops are just as easy. This is your looping section up here. So you can, just like with Serato, you can set your looping. Here's a 2-bar loop or maybe a 4-beat loop. So now that so this is how you can set your loops nice and easily. It's just like using Serato. So you're not going to be lost there, okay? Now, another thing that we do commonly in Rekordbox when it comes to preparation, is things like analyzing maybe the BPM and the key and things like that. That record box also automatically does that. So it'll analyze the BPM and the key, and it also will write the beat grids. So you guys are familiar with the beat grids. And one thing that's exclusive to Rekordbox is if any of you are using BPM transitions or you're mixing music where it's a live drummer, it's not a quantized drum, and there's a little bit of human error in the drum, you'll notice that the beat grids actually kind of slip or they go off based on things like that. What this has the ability to do is analyze it and actually stick with the track, and you'll notice that the BPM almost kind of fluctuates up and down throughout the track if you have like a Motown track that you're playing and the drummer's kind of not hitting exactly at 100 beats per minute the whole time. Or if you have this 100 BPM transition that goes from 100 BPMs to 128 BPMs, and you have one of those pre-produced transitions, by the time it transitions up to 128 BPMs, your beat grids are going to be all off in Serato because it's already trying to do back at 100 beats per minute. This will follow the track all the way up, and the BPM changes with it. So everything stays accurate with the analyzation. That's super helpful. There is still a little bit of misfiring when it comes to the grid, the beat gridding, but the being able to set your points manually is there as well. So just like in Serato, you've got your grid editor, so you can drop your grid on the downbeat, squeeze it in or out, or nudge it a little bit over so that everything hits where it needs to be. Now, beat grids, sometimes when I say beat grids, a lot of the older guys are like, oh, you're talking about having the song beat match for you and sync button and all that stuff.
Get off my lawn!
Right, but regardless of your opinions on sync button, on the sync button,
I don't think so.
or the garbage disposal button, or whatever you want to call it, the beat grids are important for other reasons, and one main reason is for making sure that your loops are accurate, making sure that when you're setting, this is the beginning of a loop, this is the end of the loop. If the software has an accurate beat grid, that loop is going to snap exactly where it's supposed to be, as opposed to being a little bit off one way or the other and sounding a little bit weird. So beat grids are important for that, and they're also important for if you use effects like a reverb or a delay or anything like that. That reverb and that delay is going to be on beat because you set your beat grids correctly. If your beat grids are set incorrectly, that delay is going to go completely off beat. It's going to start train wrecking your mix because you're trying to use an effect that isn't in the same beat structure as the rest of your mix. Does that make sense? Yeah. So working along with that, if you have a nice clean beat grid, how many mobile guys in here? Mobile guys? Okay, how many in situations where they got to play a clean version? You was talking about it earlier, and you can't find the clean version of the song. Okay, this is a clean version of the song, but we're going to pretend that we're hearing bad words, okay? Now, I'm going to show you the feature that literally sold me on Rekordbox DJ. This was the breaking point for me, because I'm a mobile guy. I do high schools, I do junior highs, I do elementary schools, and they want music that's on the radio, and that stuff is obscene, and you can get parents, even if it doesn't have a bad word, maybe it's a topic of discussion, the parents aren't even going to try to, you know what I mean? It's, you get it, right? So sometimes you find yourself searching all over the internet, iTunes, wherever you got to go, trying to find a clean version of a song that basically doesn't exist, and you end up telling the client, I can't play that song because I don't have a clean version for it. Unless you're, super nerd and you can break open your Logic program and make the edits yourself. A lot of us can't, and it's fine. You can actually do that in Rekordbox. And I'll show you how that works. So this is what sold me, guys. This is what sold me. So in this drop-down menu right here, these are all the different categories that you can adjust within these 8 pads. So you've got your cue points, your pad effects, the rolling, all the stuff that we've seen with the different categories. You choose it, and then your pad works for that particular category, right? So these are all the different categories. The category I'm talking about is called Active Sensor. Now, what Active Sensor does is it will automatically censor the portions that you set. So let's go in here, and I'll show you how this works here. Okay, so we got
So there's a bad word right there, right? There's the if I 3 times, right? So what we're gonna do is we know that the bad word happens right here, right? We can see that if we played this, it's gonna say the F-bomb, okay? So we want that F-bomb to censor out when we play the track. All we have to do is, you can see right here, there's the N. You set the end point, and you, that's about enough of the F word we can censor out, and then we turn it on, okay? Now, what's gonna happen is, when it gets to that point in the track, now that you said that you wanted to actively censor it, as soon as it hits that point, it's gonna censor it and then keep playing. And so now you have the ability to quickly create clean versions of songs. So you can listen to it real quick. See how it does that? That was, you can do it better than that, but that's, you get it. So there's different ways that you can, here we'll do more, here comes another one. See how it censors it immediately. And you can see these will kick on. Here's a good example. See how it censors it out? So now you've got absolute clean version ability for any track that you're playing. So if you're going to your gig and you know that, okay, this is going to be a clean version gig, all you got to do is go into Active Censor, turn it on. Now every single track that you play is going to, that you had to do that to, is going to automatically censor it. So that was my selling point to moving into record
You have to set every one.
It saves it. It saves it, and once you go through and you have, what's that?
In the track.
It's written into the track.
Turn it off and then you can dirty it.
Yeah, if you turn it off, you get the dirty version back, right? And
If you turn it on,
So you have to go through and listen to the whole song.
if you turn it on in the middle of the song, like say you're like, oh man, I forgot to turn it on. You turn on the middle of the song, it automatically kicks on. From that point on. Yeah, from that point on. Yeah. Yeah, and it's really, really easy to configure, guys. It's literally in, out. You can
So
clear
you
it.
have to go through the whole song and hit all your dirty words.
You are going to have to do it, but if you've ever tried to do that in a program like Logic or Ableton or something like that, it is infinitely longer. You're going to spend hours on one song, whereas this, you're going to breeze through it. You're going to make your little sensors, and you're going to save it, and you'll be done with it for good after that, and you can use it whenever you want.
Okay, say for instance you're doing a gig, high school,
Yeah.
junior high, let's say, and you don't have the song and you YouTube it. So what you do, as you're playing one song, you're cueing it, listening.
Yeah, this would
boom,
definitely
boom,
be a
boom, boom.
preparation feature. This is when the client is sending you a playlist, and you're saying that those kids are asking for songs that's inappropriate, and we're gonna have to figure that out.
Gotcha.
Yep.
But you don't have to do that throughout the entire song. You just have to choose the word.
Right.
Right.
That's what he's saying.
And it's gonna find
So
the
once
word.
you find that, it'll hit all those words for you. You don't have to do all of the words in the song.
Gotcha.
So just remember that, because that is fast.
Are you gonna be here for a little bit?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Billy, very much.